Oh. 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। Hरि Om everyone. So last class we have missed because we are in retreat. So there is a gap of 2 weeks now. Um, we'll start with the chanting as we normally do. I think we have completed up to verse 14. So we'll read up to 14 and then continue from 15 onwards. Yeah. कर्तुराज्ञया प्राप्यते फलम् कर्म किं परम् कर्म तच्छडम् कृतिमहो दधौ पतनकारणम् फलमशाश्वतम् गतिनिरोधकम् ईश्वरार्पितम् नेच्छया कृतम् चित्तशोधकम् मुक्तिसाधकम् कायवाङ्मनः कार्यमुत्तमम् पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमा जगत ईषधीयुक्तसेवनम् अष्टमूर्तिभृत् देवपूजनम् उत्तमस्तदा उच्चमन्दतः चित्तजं जप ध्यानमुत्तमम् आज्यधारया स्तोत्रसासमम् सरलचिन्तनं विरलतः परम् वेदभावना सोऽहमित्यसौ भावनाभिदा भावनीमता भावशून्यस भावसुस्थितिः भावना बलात् भक्तिरुत्तमा हृस्थले मनः स्वस्थिता क्रिया भक्तियोगबोधाश्च निश्चितम् वायुरोधना लीयते मनः जालपक्षिवरोधसाधनम् चित्तवायवश्चित्क्रियायुताः शाखयोर्द्वयी शक्तिमूलक लयविनाशने उभयरोधने लयगतं पुनः भक्तिर्भवति नोऽमृतम् प्राणबन्धना लीनमानसम् एकचिन्तना न्यासमेत्यदः. So we are seeing actually the introduction slokas to the Jnana Marga from verse 12 onwards. We are actually seeing that how the Jnana Marga is supposed to be followed. This is only introduction that he will give. From verse 16 onwards, the real explanation of Jnana Marga will start. So 16 till end of the text actually is more in terms of how the Jnana Marga is the only Marga that will allow a seeker to reach the destination of moksha. Yeah, so that is what we are actually seeing. In the last class, we have seen verse 14. So 13 principles of Jnana Marga started with the definition of Rodhanam. So he used the word Laya Vinashane Ubhaya Rodhane. So this Rodhanam is the one which is nothing but a control of the mind. So the control of the mind, Maharshi says, can be done in two different ways. One is called a Laya, and second is called Vinashana. So Laya is only resolving, is a dissolution of the mind, a removal of the mind, but normally done through the pranayama. In the definition of Ramana Maharshi, pranayama, Guruji says it is prana vikshan. So it's only observation of the breath will give you that type of a temporary resolution of the mind. And when mind is not there actively in participating in your day-to-day activities, that is when you recognize your true nature of consciousness, awareness principle behind you. So that is how Laya Vinashane, and Vinashana is destruction of the mind. So there are two ways of resolving the mind or taking off the mind. And we have seen that Laya happens because of the pranayama, temporary meditation techniques, or just viewing of the prana, breath. You actually can control your mind. Mind can be controlled by shifting the focus away from the thoughts to your breath. And we have seen how that is possible, how these two are linked. He said both of them come from the same root. So it is the same, the Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna, Maya, Trigunatmika Shakti is responsible for both mind as well as breath. Prana as well as the Manaha both come from the same root of the Maya Shakti. So from the Sattva Guna comes the mind, and from Rajo Guna comes the prana. So since the root are the same, by controlling one, you automatically control the others. And Guruji says that this is our day-to-day experience as well. So when our mind is agitated, breath automatically becomes faster. And when you control the breath, automatically mind also settles down. And other way around. When your breath is too much because of some fear or something that comes across, again, controlling the breath will control the mind. Controlling the mind will control the breath. So suppose you are in a fear and you see that your heartbeat increases and your breathing rate increases. By controlling the mind and telling that, okay, mind, can calm down, we'll take care of the situation. Automatically, the breath also comes under control. Your heartbeat comes under control. So this is what we have seen, that Laya and Vinasha. Mano Laya means temporary dissolving of the mind, and Mano Vinasha is the destruction of the problematic mind permanently. And how it is done is discussed in verse 14, when we have seen that. Yeah.
Can I ask a very quick question? When you talk about breathing with the fear, your breath gets very fast. What about when you stop breathing sometime with fear?
I think body will automatically take care of it. When enough vacuum is there, it will go back. So whether it increases or whether it stops, it is not normal. So when breath is not normal, automatically by controlling the mind, breath will be controlled as well. So they are linked to each other, is how Ramana Maharshi is established that particular one. Yeah. And mind resolution can happen in many ways, but what we are looking at is through the meditation technique that we are looking at. What I meant was mind will dissolve if you take excessive alcohol or drugs also. But that is not what we are looking at. It should be deliberately done using a meditation practice for the sake of this sadhana that we are looking at. Yeah. And in verse 14, we have actually seen some of the important aspects of Vedanta being discussed here. Yeah. Pranabandhanat Leena Manasam Ekachintanat Nasham Etyada. So here he says that Pranabandhanat, restraint of the prana or absorption of the prana, liyamanasam, leenam, that is the destruction of the mind. Both will happen. Mind gets resolved by the prana or the breath, and it gets destroyed by the knowledge of the ultimate reality of non-dual self or the consciousness. Ekachintanat nasham etyadat. Nasham, when it happens, when you actually start thinking of ekachintana, that focused thought on one, not one focused thought, but focused thought on one. Yeah. So that is how the Ravana Maharshi says that how do you destroy the mind is by controlling the mind directly. So controlling the breath will resolve the mind, but controlling the mind will kill the mind. And we have seen as to what is the actual meaning of this killing. Yeah. So it is not that really we take out the mind completely so that it will never come out. It is that the true nature, once it is recognized, then the mind will automatically become calm forever. There is no desire that will stop the mind, that will make the mind go into a flutter. So, and we have seen that the mind has got two types of or two processes that it follows. One is recognition of the objects outside in terms of objects. When I say sense objects, so it is smell, touch, all the five sense objects, jnana, indriyas that we are talking about. And the thing is, we start giving value to that particular object, that I like this, I don't like this. So that kind of a aspect will come into the picture, where we describe this as Jiva Srishti. The first one is Ishvara Srishti. Ishvara Srishti doesn't have any problem in terms of the Srishti which is there. If a car is there in front, it is there. Car is an object which is made by this one. Or a mountain is there, for example, mountain is there. Okay, that is Ishvara Srishti. But once I start giving a value to that this particular thing has got more value to me and it gives me happiness. And when we go into that process of attributed values to the objects outside, automatically my mind will start getting flustered. If I don't have that, I have a problem. If I cannot avoid that, that is a problem. So Raga Dvesha will take over one's life. And that particular thing is the second thing that mind does. So when we say Mano Nasha, we are not talking of the first one. You continue to have observe the objects. You can continue to enjoy the objects. But when I stop giving false values to these objects, when I take out this Raga Dvesha over a period of time, that is when the Mano Nasha that we are talking about. And once you do that, that particular thing will give you a mukti or moksha. Tanuji, you had a question?
Hari Om Shankarji. My question was, usually we define mind as the flow of thoughts. Yeah. In mind, we have a flow of thoughts.
Yeah.
And that is the nature of the mind. But Mano Nasha, does that mean now there are no thoughts flowing through the mind?
That's what I'm telling. We need to understand that Mano Nasha does not mean there won't be any thoughts, there won't be any response. The Raga Dvesha associated with that particular mind will continue to perceive the world. Mind will continue to have have a interaction with the world outside. That is not the mind that we are going to do that. But what will become Nasha by understanding our true nature is that I am full by myself. I don't require anything from outside to make me full. And that actually gives you a peace of mind which will allow you to do your sadhana in a way where the oneness with the consciousness is possible for you in a period of time, over a period of time. So Mano Nasha does not mean thoughts are not there or perception is not there. I start attributing false value to that, that because of that, I am happy. The Purnatvam of the self is hidden because of that desires that come because I feel incomplete. That particular aspect will go away, and that is what is the Mano Nasha that is being referred to here.
Thank
Could
you.
it be,
Yeah.
could it be that there is contentment and less thoughts in your mind and contentment that also could
Automatically,
describe it?
yes. Yeah. Agree with you. Yeah. So that contentment is the one which actually makes the fluttering of the mind, it will cool down. Yeah, that is for sure. Yeah. So last time I also mentioned that we will look at this one without a second. Yeah, because he says you have to focus on the one. What is that one? Is when we talk about one, the one is not one thought or one object or one God, for example. He's not talking about if I start thinking of only one Vishnu or one Krishna, that is good enough. We are looking at actually the oneness which is there without any second. Advaita principle is one which is being talked about here. Advaita. Dvaita, there is a second, and Advaita is there is no second. Means a duality versus singularity. When I talk about singularity, normally we may get confused with if I have 10 God pictures in my this way, it is a problem. No, it's not. We are not talking of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or their children. Yeah, we are actually looking at oneness of that Brahman beyond which there is nothing else. Advaita. That means even I am not there. That particular concept is one which we should be looking at. Second is, it is not that I am not there, I am that one. So there is a difference between these two as well. When I say that I am not there, then question comes as to then who is getting mukti or moksha? So these questions will come again and again if we start thinking about them in terms of Advaita. I am a reality to me. Nobody can deny that I exist and I am there. I am experiencing this world. You may say that the world is not there, it is just an experience, and give many examples. But the question is that I will still remain. I cannot deny myself. I may deny everything else, but I cannot deny myself. So ultimately, Advaita will result in that I am that one. It's not that I am different from that one and only one is there. I am also not there. Here we are looking at that I am also that particular oneness which is there. We are talking about that Aham Brahmasmi is the final truth that one need to recognize or realize. Then how do we define this oneness when we talk about, when we see only differences everywhere? Yeah. So the Shastras talk about Ishvara. One of the definitions of Ishvara is that it is a Desha Parischeda, Kala Parischeda, Vastu Parischeda. I introduced this concept of Vastu Parischeda and said we will discuss this to understand this oneness in the different world that we are looking at. Yeah. So the idea of Desha Parischeda is, Parischeda in short is limitations. That I have certain limitations as I define myself as a jiva. So one is Desha Parischeda, means I am sitting at one place, then that particular place, I am not at different place automatically. If I say I am in ashram, Giridhar today, right now, that means I am not there in my house. I am not there in YMCA. I am not there in the shopping. I am not there anywhere else. I am in the ashram. So there is a Desha Parischeda when it comes to a jiva, in embodied jiva. So that is what I personally feel as the defined me. They say Desha Parischeda. When we say that Ishvara doesn't have this limitation, So to say, what it means is there is no place where the Ishvara is not there. So that is what Krishna's Rasa Leela indicates. You know, he has got 16,000 wives, and Narada or somebody once started trying to test, say, whom he is with. Wherever he goes, he sees Krishna there. So that concept that he is limited by the space is not possible for Ishvara. So in a way, it indicates that wherever he is all-pervading God. The concept of all-pervading comes with the concept of that he is not limited by the space. That is one. Second is Kala Parischeda. So if it means that I was sleeping in the night yesterday and I got up and today I am here, so there is a limitation in terms of the time. So the time limitation is, and tomorrow there will be a time when I won't be there. My physical body, and I am not there in my definitions, I am not there. Whereas Ishvara is said to be Kala Parischeda. Means he is not limited by the time also. There is no time that he is not there. There is no time he will not be there. In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna in second chapter, we will see, is that not only I am not, there is no time when I am not there. He says there is no time when you are not there. All these kings are not there. There won't be a time all these kings are not there or you won't be there. So he gives that particular example to say that you are the Ishvara, really speaking, although you may not know, but right now there is no time when nobody is there in terms of past, present, and future. So this is called Kala Parischeda. Now this Vastu Parischeda is slightly a different concept altogether. Means there is an object outside, there is a water bottle sitting in front of me, then that water bottle is confined by a shape and size and a name. And water bottle being water bottle is not the cup, it is not the laptop, it is not the table, it is not the mountain, it is not anything else. That Vastu is limited by the shape and size of that particular object. Whereas when you say there is no Vastu Parischeda, means what? That Ishvara is not that he is not in one Vastu, he is not in the other Vastu. Every Vastu is nothing but Ishvara. So that Vastu Parischeda gives the concept of again the infinite nature of Ishvara. So that I-ness that we are talking about, and when I say my I-ness is the observing facility, that I am the Sakshi and I am enjoying, I am experiencing this different objects. Ishvara is not limited by the Vastu. It is not limited by a shape and size and a name. Ishvara is everywhere. So this particular concept of three limitations which are not there in Ishvara describes Ishvara, and the concept of that will give you the oneness that we are talking about. If there is no difference between this Vastu, that Vastu, this Vastu, every Vastu is nothing but the form of Ishvara only.
So why they use 16,000 wives as a number, then that limit?
That is just a number, that's all. Any thousand, any numbers at that indicate infinite response. Yeah, that is how it is. Not in a story ways, it is difficult to, even without a story, it's very difficult to understand the concept of infinity.
Yeah.
So they used to multiply with thousands, that's all, to say
Yeah.
that so many.
Now
Yeah.
they're in trillions and it used
Correct,
to be
correct.
thousands.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what we have seen in terms of that oneness that we are talking about. Oneness is not with respect to one thought or one object or one God, but it is other than that, nothing else is there. The Advaita principle, when you focus on that, that is how the mukti or moksha is to be understood, is how the Maharshi is telling us. Yeah. So as usual, I will just read the last paragraphs of Guruji's explanation for us to understand the concept which I was talking about. Yeah. So he actually, the one means that one which does not become two. which is one without a second, which is the common denominator in all apparent dualities, and because of which alone all objects gain existence. So that oneness that we are talking about, which is the one which we must be focusing on. Now, the objects outside our body are many, like book, table, chair, etc., so on. Also, our body itself changes constantly. Our mind has innumerable thoughts, and the ideals that the intellect cherishes are many. But the knower of all these manifold objects, changes in the body, emotions, and thoughts is one common illuminator, I, the self. This knowledge principle or the knower remains the same. It neither changes to become another I, nor does it cease to be when the thoughts change or ceases to be. Without I, the pure consciousness, no thoughts exist. For such contemplation, a relatively quiet mind is necessary. Thereafter, the contemplation on the thought I am pure consciousness destroys the ignorance due to which the seeker considers himself as a sorrowful, limited being. So when we say Mano Nasha, Guruji is pretty clear in terms of what he describes as Mano Nasha. So that unless that I principle remains the one and the same. Yeah, this is what we tried to explain in the last two classes now. Okay. All right. We'll go to verse 15. Okay. Nashtamaanaso उत्कृष्टयोगिनः उत्कृष्टयोगिनः कृत्समस्ति किम् स्वस्तितिं यतः नष्टमानसः उत्कृष्टयोगिनः. Utkrishta is the highest state of exalted state of yogi. Utkrishta yoginaha, nashtamanasa, whose mind has been destroyed. How it is destroyed? By focusing on the one thought that we are. Kim krutyam asti. Is there anything to be done? Na, no. Yataha swastitim. Swastitim, he abides in the self. Yeah. So this is how what duty is there for exalted yogi whose mind has been annihilated. So here we are talking about the Jivan Mukta. How the Jivan Mukta and what is the benefits of that liberated mind is being described in the verse 15. So Jivan Mukta Purusha is the one whose mind has been destroyed. Nashtamanasa. Nashtamanasa, whose mind has been described. He becomes the Utkrishta yogi, the highest established in the self, the greatest of yogi, whose mind has been destroyed and is always established in the self. What actions is to be performed? So whether he requires to perform any further actions, in fact, sannyasa, one of the things we call sannyasa is when the person does not have any prescribed duties. See, in our society, we used to have this brahmacharya, gruhastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa. 4 stages are there, basically, or 4 states which are there. Each of them have got certain established regulations, rules, and actions that one require to take. They're all defined in the texts like Manusmriti or even Upanishads. Some of them, Taittiriya Upanishad, for example, tells you what is the role of each of the persons in different stages in one's life. So as long as you are brahmachari, you require to follow certain things. Before even brahmacharya, balavastha is there up to 7 years of age. You don't have again any prescribed duties. You are a child and you are just being grown up, and the parents take care of them. But once you reach an age of 7, you are required to go to guru. So the guru becomes your mother and father. They used to go to always a school outside and stay with the guru and learn certain things. And you have, again, the Upanishad tells you what are your duties. Once your education is over, you come back and you go into the of supporting yourself. Then they get married. Then you enter the Gruhastha. In Gruhastha, you have again duties prescribed, Panchamaha etc. That as to what all things you require to take care. Part of that is to take care of sannyasis, for example. As a Gruhastha, you require to take care of sannyasis. When they come, you require to feed them, etc., etc. There are established rules, regulations for that. Even for Vanaprastha, once they say actually, the Shastras talk about, once you see the face of your grandson, grandchild, that should be the end of your Grihastha, you take up Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha is more in terms of going into Vana. Vana is the forest. Vanaprastha is one who roams around in the forest. Doesn't mean that you leave the house and run away. It is more an attitude that we are talking about. Vanaprastha is where there is no sound, etc. So you reduce the sound in your mind. Sound in your mind can be of different response, and mostly it is coming from the five senses. So you reduce the impact of senses and the world outside on your mind in terms of reduce the noise in your mind, and that becomes Vanaprastha. Vana is where everything is very quiet. You don't have many sounds coming in. So you establish such a routine in your this one, and again, there are certain regulations as to how you will do that. Yeah, you require to have a isolated time for yourself and increase that over a period of time so that the noises in the mind reduce over a period of time. Whereas sannyasa is one ashrama where I leave everything behind. And when I leave everything behind, I also leave my regulated duties as far as the world is concerned. I will not have any further duties associated with my life, and that makes me a sannyasi. So they actually talk about I leave the fire behind, my fire. It used to be a fire which you used to maintain as a Grihastha. We have gone through in Prashnopanishad. So I will not go through that once again. But that particular aspect will give you a time when there is no further duties prescribed for you. I don't even have to do a puja. I don't even have to do my morning ritual, afternoon ritual, evening ritual. Nothing is there. I am completely free of duties. Means actually I'm going into a situation where I don't have any duty to do, but my only duty is to gain the knowledge associated with my true self. So that makes you a sannyasi. So here it is being described that a person who established himself, what action is to be performed. And what do you mean by what action has to be performed? We have gone through this in the last class, that every action that we take up for the sake of fulfillment of certain desire, fulfillment of getting some joy. So that getting happiness is the principle with which we operate. And where I'm getting this happiness from? Always from outside. I'm not getting happiness from inside. I'm getting happiness from the outside is my thinking, and that is my life throughout. So when I don't have an object, by gaining the object, I gain the happiness associated with that. So here, when we say that a established person, established in the self as sannyasi, when action need not be performed, he is here talking about that I will not, or he will not perform any action for the sake of fulfillment. He operates from the concept of being completely full within, and one operates out of that particular fulfillment, not of this one. The examples our Shastras give is more in terms of an ocean versus a river. River is full of turbulence. If you see right from the time when it starts from the mountain till it reaches the ocean, it is full of turbulence, flow, and sound. And once it reaches the ocean, even before reaching the ocean, they say that if you observe a river, when the river is, the ocean is in the sight, so to say, of the river becomes very quiet. It splits into 4, 5, 6, this ones, and there is no further turbulence as far as river is concerned, and it slowly merges with the ocean. And ocean is always full. Just because there is a flood in Gangaji, it doesn't translate into a flood in the ocean. It appears as if despite so many thousands of liters or billions of liters flowing into the ocean remains the same. It's not that every time ocean is increasing and coming further into the land, although it might happen once the this ones we are looking at, some of the low-lying areas can go down. But really speaking, in the medium term, we see that ocean remains ocean. It appears to be full, despite whether there is a drought there or whether floods are there. Ocean, there is no change. So ocean operates out it as if it is operating out of fullness, whereas a river operates out of a desire. So this is how the examples are given in terms of the difference between a jiva and a person, jiva, but a established master, how the difference is. A master operates out of fullness. He doesn't have, that doesn't mean he doesn't have desires. But desires may be there, but desires are not for fulfilling something he has got selfishly, or nor it is going to give him any additional happiness. All that such a master does is to operate out of fullness, and most of his desires will be for the general good of the society, general good of the people around him.
Shankarji, I have a quick question. In our, where they divide the different stages of life, so not much really changes in terms of the external actions from one stage to the next. But I've always wondered, why is the Balavastha, why is it so long? Because there's a conflict there between the West and the East. Because in the East, they say, okay, up to about 7 or 6 or whatever is when the Balavastha is over. But we actually start to teach the kids at home, right from a year old, let's say. So why is there sort of no duties for that period?
It's like this, yeah. One is that human brain is a complex one. So it takes a long time. Unlike an animal which is born, immediately it knows. For a tortoise, for example, it comes out of the egg, it hatches, it exactly knows where to go and what to eat, how to go. Even the animals that are born, immediately they get up. Within a minute, they are up on the 4 seat and they are running around, because it's a question of survival for them. But in case of a human being, our brain is being established so that it takes a lot of time for it to mature. So much time for it to come to a particular stage. It doesn't mean that we stop training it. Yeah, training is required for the long-term good of the child. So right from number 1, first year, second year, for example, what you are telling, we do train people in terms of taking care. Toilet training starts very early, for example, for them to do. We don't say that up to 7 years, okay, you do whatever you want, wherever you want. No, we toilet train the child to become, so that it becomes okay in terms of that. But if suppose a particular child is not picking up that instead of 6 months, some children get toilet trained very quick. Some take time. But you don't say that this child is bad, that child is good or anything like. We don't judge child. So in that sense, every human may have some differences in terms of that. But children and childhood, we cannot put that if a child doesn't do something, it doesn't become his responsibility, so to say. Because that is how the childhood is being defined. So it's not that we don't give responsibilities to them. Small responsibilities we train, so that once the age of 7 comes, he is in a position to take over completely his life under the tutelage of the guru. Once you reach 18 or 19, then without anything, you should be able to take care. But that doesn't mean that in brahmacharya, we don't teach people how to manage grihastha. That those skills are being given, but if those skills are taking time, we say that, okay, he is still a brahmachari. He is not a grihastha. So it will take some time for some people
Just have more
in terms
leeway.
of that. Yeah, like that you should take that into account.
Also, for the first 7 years, they're being trained. But they don't take the responsibility,
Mhm.
like beyond.
Yeah.
It's
It's the parents' responsibility.
Yeah, you're trained, but then you become responsible later on, and that's the part.
Even our legal systems, I think, accept that to some extent. Yeah. So if you are even doing something wrong, if you are below 18, you are a juvenile, what they call that?
Juvenile.
Juvenile, yeah, juvenile state.
But we have a 12, they do that ceremony.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, the
actually-
tried ceremony,
Yeah.
yeah.
Until that point, apparently, maybe it's up to 7, but from I understood when I was growing up at 12, you're not really like, you don't commit sins as such, like if you do something really wrong, because you're not, your brain hasn't developed yet to make that judgment. But after 12, you're totally smooth for that kind of decision.
That thread ceremony for some happens even very early. Even 7 years is the one when the thread ceremony used to happen. And once the thread ceremony happens, you are going to the Gurukula for your schooling aspect of that. So the different concept of why that thread ceremony, etc., etc. So when you are very young in a balavastha, there are no controls that are put on you. Controls come from outside. You are not expected to have controls from inside in terms of your senses and the greed, how you must live in a society. You cannot be selfish all the way. Yeah? You should be giving, you should be understanding, etc. So the thread actually is supposed to give you that particular idea that now the self-control starts from your side. So the thread is the indicative of that. Similarly, Mangal Sutra, for example, after the marriage to a woman, is a kind of a control. It just is supposed to remind you of the Gurhastha needs for you in terms of doing that.
That has something to change in the religion.
Everything is controlled, related and linked as far as the avasthas are concerned, brahmacharya and others. Yeah. Okay, so here again, Gurudev says that it does not mean sage will not perform any actions. Yeah, just because there are no actions that are given. In fact, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita talks about this action doing. Yeah, he says there are 2 types of action one does. One action that is done by yourself. Second action is when you ask others to do the job. It is Dayanand Saraswati used to jokingly say, one is a driver who drives the car. Second way the person does is he sits in the back seat and drives the car. So both are not there, he becomes a sannyasi. So it's not only you are not doing the job, you are not getting the job done through somebody else also. There is no limitation, there is no concept of, as I tell again, coming back to fulfillment. No desire. I am full and I operate out of that fullness. Yeah. So selfless actions pour out of him for the benefit of all beings. There is no iota of selfishness left in the being, and his ego is destroyed. Seeing the self in him as the self in all, he fills the world with his love, which expresses as service to the mankind. That is how the fulfilled man or Utkrishta Yoginaha is described by Guruji here. Yeah. See, what happens is we normally talk about the birth itself. When you say a person has taken birth, Shastras talk about this birth is because of our previous punya and papa. Yeah, punya and papa determine what type of birth you are getting in this life. That is how they talk about. And why this punya and papa are coming is because of dharma and adharma. In the actions that you have taken in your previous births, dharma and adharma. If you follow dharma, you get a punya. If you do adharmic activities, you get papa. These will determine the birth itself that we are talking about. Now, how this dharma, adharma, when we talk about what defines this dharma and dharma, Shastras used to say that Shastra Vihita Karma and Shastra Pratishiddha Karma. Means Shastras used to define the way you should lead your life. And if it is in line with Shastras, it is a dharmic activity. If your action is beyond, goes against the prescription of the Shastras, it becomes a adharma, way of life. More you do adharma, more papa will accumulate. More dharma you follow, means as per Shastras you follow, you become the punya, you gain punya. This used to be the definitions of the way a person takes birth to Sattva. And when you do this Shastra Vihita Karma also, there is something called a raga and dvesha, the likes and dislikes. If I say that, okay, I am doing Shastra Vihita Karma, but I have certain likes I develop while doing this particular activity and certain dislikes that I actually do in terms of this activity, they become a problem. And why I'm telling all this is that to wrap up the thought process that is there associated in these verses. When we talk about this raga dvesha, likes and dislike, I told you about jiva svishti. But the real the term that is used for raga dvesha, it is called shobhana adhyasa, ashobhana adhyasa. Adhyasa is superimposition. When I superimpose a happiness or shobhana that I like this particular sweet, I give that concept of shobhana adhyasa to all the objects that are outside me and including my thoughts. A particular mind can think about certain things and I like the way it is thinking. Yeah, even the thoughts we give superimpose a shobhana adhyasa and ashobhana adhyasa. And when this shobhana adhyasa, when this comes, automatically this is due to the duality. What they say is, when I say that this is good for me or I like this, I am not like this, I am doing it because of the duality. I feel I am different from that particular object. And because of that, I am having a shobhana adhyasa or ashobhana adhyasa, which leads to raga and dvesha. And when we say that superimposition is not only superimposition in terms of likes and disness, it is goodness. This is good for me, not good, good, bad. That goodness or adhyasa we give. We also give superimpose certain value on the objects. Yeah. And when I do this thing, what is happening is I am increasing the concept of I-ness in me. Means the ego becomes strong and strong when your likes and dislikes become strong and strong. When I recognize the very I-ness which is in me is nothing but the Sakshi Chaitanyam which is there, it is not the Ahankara. When I focus on that one truth, automatically I see the oneness in everywhere outside, and that will provide you the stability in terms of raga and dvesha will come down. So this adhyasa will come down in terms of shobhana and ashobhana, good or bad. This good, bad, when I see something immediately, it should not tell me, oh, this I like, this is good. When I stop that particular thing over a period of time with practice, I slowly come out of the grip of this raga and dvesha. And when I don't have this raga dvesha, easy for me to follow the punya and papa. Because many times what happens is adharma appears to be very good for me because I'm able to enjoy that over a period of time. And when I say that I enjoy, automatically I am putting superimpose a value of happiness onto the things which are not prescribed by the Shastras. So this is how one should be really looking at as to what sadhana this is being indicated here. Shobhana, Ashobhana, Adhyasa, Dharma, Adharma, Shastra Vihita, Shastra Pratisiddha, and ultimately we are talking about Papa and Punya. All right. We'll go to verse 16. Yeah. Drishyavaritam
Drashivaritam
Chittamatmanah
Chittamātmanah
Chitvadarshanam
चित्तदर्शनं
Tatvadarshanam
तत्त्वदर्शनं
Drishyavaritam Chittamatmanah Chitvadarshanam Tatvadarshanam. So Chittam is indication of the mind. Yeah, so the mind is called Chittam. I think we have seen that already. The fourfold mind, they indicate, take out any one of them. Manaha becomes mind, for example. Chitta becomes mind. Intellect becomes mind, or the ego becomes the mind. Yeah, Chittam is the mind. Drishyavaritam. Drishyavaritam is like withdrawing from the Drishya. Drishya is the objects outside. When you withdraw from the seen, let us say, Drishyam is seen. Yeah? And Atmanaha of its own, Chitvadarshanam, vision of the consciousness, what is called Tattvadarshan, is vision of the reality. So when we talk about Tattvadarshanam, Tattvam is the very essence of my being, is Tattvam. So the Tattvadarshanam, knowing the Tattva, is nothing but knowing your consciousness. That is how the Swamiji is trying to say. Yeah. So Upadesa Sara, if you really see, is split into two portions. 1 to 15 verses is only a preparatory stage, where the introduction to Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Ashtanga Yoga, everything is given, including now Jnana Yoga also. The last 2-3 verses are introductory verses, and this is a preparatory stage. From verse 16, the real teaching of Upadesha Sara, the why this particular text is called Upadesha, it starts with verse 16. The concepts of Advaita Vedanta will be revealed from verses 15 onwards. So at the preparatory stage, we have seen verses 1 to 6 was Karma Yoga, 7 to 9 was Upasana Yoga. I am taking word 1 to 6, including Bhakti, so-called Bhakti in terms of Puja, is nothing but Karma. Puja means activity that you are doing physically. Yeah. So that also is part of the Karma Yoga, and Upasana is from 7 to 9. And Ashtanga Yoga, we have seen 10 to 12 verses. And Introduction to Jnana Yoga is verses 13 and 14, where he only introduced, he said that you have to focus on that one which is there. Now from 16 onwards, the real concepts of why this text is called Upadesha Sara, the essence of the knowledge, is starting from verse 16 onwards. So he is talking about Dushyavaritam. With the self-knowledge, the mind withdraws from the scene. What happens when you focus on your self-knowledge, or my true nature that we are talking about? You automatically withdraw yourself from the scene, and this vision of consciousness, this is the vision of consciousness. When we say vision of consciousness, Chitta Darshanam, it is that I don't know, I no longer see the consciousness aspects outside me. I start withdrawing from the objects outside, Drishyavaritam, Chitta Atmanaha. With the self-knowledge that is there, automatically I will start withdrawing from the scene. And when this is the vision of reality also, then same thing is called Tattva Darshan. Tattva is not somewhere outside. Tattva is not that Brahman is sitting somewhere and I am here. Your own Chitta Darshan, your own consciousness, vision of consciousness is vision of the Brahman. This is how he has put that particular thing. Yeah. So this we have gone through Drik Drishya Viveka with Jayaji recently. So when Swamiji talks about as the withdrawing from the Drishya, he is now trying to focus on the Drik. So you will find lot of in the explanations we will be giving from now on. You will see the core concepts of the Drishya Viveka, etc., coming into the concept here. Yeah. So we will go through verse 16 in a. We'll start from next class, wherein we will understand the deeper concepts of Vedanta, starting with Drik Drishya Viveka, while explaining the verse 16. Okay. So Vedantic principle of the Drik Drishya Viveka is what is being talked about here. Okay. We will start in the next class, the real teaching of Upadesha Sara. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.